A few months ago, I posted a video about OneSkin. Now, OneSkin is a fascinating company that is run by 4 female PhDs, and recently I had the opportunity to sit down with them and ask them a bunch of questions that I got not only here on YouTube, but also in my Facebook community. So I had an almost 2-hour conversation with these 4 ladies that I have narrowed down to this very long 40-minute video that I suggest, if you do not have the time to watch in its entirety, that you watch it in chunks or you check the description box where I will put timestamps. We tried to get to as many questions that were really pertinent as possible, but certainly will answer any other questions that you might have if you just leave them in the comment section. If you are not familiar with OneSkin, it is a facial product or a body product that uses a proprietary peptide to actually reverse the biological age of your skin. It is a topical skin supplement. First, they came out with a facial product and then a body, and they have more products in the pipeline coming very, very soon. And the goal of this is to thicken the epidermis, which is this outer layer of your skin, which can help tremendously with our barrier function, with holding in water, and just overall skin health, to reverse the biological age of our skin, to increase the activity of genes that are associated with collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid production in the skin, to decrease the activity of genes that are associated with inflammation, huge, and because of all of this, improve the barrier function overall, which is really, really paramount to healthy, beautiful skin. I think that this is the direction, the wave of the future when it comes to skincare, and it is really, really cool to witness. I hope you enjoy this, and I will catch you on the other side of the video. I'm going to quickly introduce each of you. First, we have Carolina Reese Oliveira, PhD in immunology. She is the CEO and co-founder of OneSkin. Alessandra Zanari, a PhD in skin regeneration and tissue engineering. She has her master's in stem cell biology, and she has published 20 peer-reviewed papers in scientific journals. Juliana Carvalho, PhD in molecular biology, master's in biochemistry and in immunology. She is the co-inventor of 4 patents and has published 34 peer-reviewed papers in scientific journals. And then Mariana Baroni, PhD in bioinformatics with a master's in biochemistry, published more than 20 peer-reviewed papers in scientific journals. I am fascinated by the way that the 4 of you came together. I mean, obviously you are all so accomplished, and it seems that your what you set out to do together initially is different than where you are today. Could you explain how that has happened and what your journey has been so far?
I can take this one. So pleasure to be here, Penn. So we met each other when we were doing our master's and PhD. In fact, Mariana and I, we went to college together, so we know each other almost for 20 years. Mm-hmm. But I met Alessandra and Juliana in 2009, so 12 years already. And at the end of our PhD, we all had this dream of translating the science that we were developing in academia to transforming something that would impact and improve people's lives. So we started our first entrepreneur project back in Brazil, and eventually we moved to the US in 2016 because we found here better resources and a more developed ecosystem to support like biotech. And initially we were, and based on our expertise, we were growing human skins in the lab, intending to replace animal testing. Eventually, we identified a bigger need in the market because for this problem, there were other companies already with other solutions. But we saw that this anti-aging market was really growing so fast, but consumers were still kind of lost in terms of understanding if their products work or not, how we can validate that. So we came with this approach that if we can grow skins in the lab and if we're able to measure the age of the tissue that we are growing, then we can test a product and measure again if that product is changing what we call like the biological age of the skin, that we can go into deeper details later. But what was interesting about this initial approach is that we needed to study a lot about aging in order to measure if those anti-aging products were reversing aging. And then we got to know very new science in terms of understanding what is causing aging at the cellular and molecular level. In the end, aging is the major risk factors for us to develop most of the diseases that we end up experiencing as we grow older. So if we can target aging, or if you can target those mechanisms, and cellular senescence is one of them, we can hope, we are hoping to extend the time that our tissues are functioning well for longer. So we can extend the time that we live in good health. And this resonated a lot with us. And what we realized that most anti-aging products that were available in the market, they were not targeting the root cause or those specific mechanisms. And we decided to take that approach and target, skin aging, mostly focus on senescent cells accumulation. And as a starting point, because we believe that this approach can eventually expand to other tissues and eventually to treat our whole body. And we're excited to expand from there. But I'll stop here. So I think that's a good overview.
Speaking of senescence, if you could just explain in layperson's terms what that is, what that even means. Maybe I can take this one, Penny. So you actually have described very well what senescent cells are in your videos, but trying to put it in different terms, but still in a very simple way. When a cell is working and in our bodies, it can suffer damage from various sources like UV damage, pollution, chemicals, and so forth. And it can follow three routes. It can die from the excessive damage it suffered. It can recover from the damage. So if the damage was not enough to induce the death of these cells, or it can be caught in between in a way that the cell is damaged. It cannot recover and repair its systems, but at the same time, it doesn't die. In those situations, our bodies and throughout evolution, there was the development of a system, of an emergency system that works and it is activated in those situations, which is called the senescence program. And this senescence program, it prevents the damaged cell to become a cancer cell because it prevents cells to proliferate. So proliferation is stopped. This cell cannot contribute to tumor growth anymore. But at the same time, this same program activates pro-aging and pro-inflammatory genes. Initially, because inflammation is a positive sign for the immune system to eliminate this damaged cell. But when those senescent cells accumulate, the excessive signaling is detrimental. And then we see all the consequences of senescent cell accumulation in our bodies. So we know that there are supplements on the market to address senescence. What is the difference between OneSkin and these supplements that you can take? Maybe I can take this one again. So yes, there are some supplements out there that have been shown to prevent or even fight senescent cell accumulation, but they are mainly targeted to prevent cellular senescence in the whole organism. So usually they are taken orally. And because OneSkin, our team really recognizes the importance of skin health for overall organismal health, we decided to develop a topical formulation to deliver our peptide locally to the skin to maximize the pro-health effects of OS-1 in the skin. So unfortunately, if you take supplements orally, they usually provide very little to no benefit to the skin. So they are very important to the overall organismal health as well. But when you really think about the skin specifically, the benefits are not that important or they're that relevant. So we decided to take a different route and to use a supplement to really boost skin health and from them to get all the benefits of a great skin to our body. I'd love to talk a little bit about the human skin equivalent. Can you explain what it is and how much it actually relates to human skin.
Yeah, so we are fascinated about this tool of growing human skin in the lab. The skin is actually an organ, a tissue that's more easily to replicate in a lab compared to other organs, such as like a heart or a liver. So the structure of the skin is easier to replicate. And this gives us a tool that is more translatable to the humans, to what is really going on our body. And by replicating the skin in the lab and having the system, we managed to understand the aging process because we can grow skins from different ages. We can understand in the cellular level what's happening to those skins while we are aging. And then we can efficiently measure the efficacy of a new product because we can test this product on the skins and we can measure if they are increasing collagen production, if they are decreasing aging markers, decreasing inflammation. And by doing this upfront, we can efficiently translate this into human with more efficacy. So we are kind of like, we already know that this combination of ingredients in this formula, they can improve your skin appearance, your skin health. And with this tool, we manage to evaluate the efficacy of a molecule or a product.
You said this, but I think it's really important for people to understand that you can genuinely measure the age of the skin. You can treat it with whatever, whether it's OneSkin or another product, so you can compare, and then you can measure it again in a length of time and see if it's either stayed the same or it's, I would love for you to explain the Molclock because it is one of those concepts that for a layperson who's not in a lab, it is a big concept to understand, but I do think it's really, really important to the validity of your studies. I think that it's a really important concept for people to understand.
So the idea of Molclock, as you said, is to predict the biological age, which in most of the times it's correlate with our chronological age. It can also reflect the health of our cells. So for instance, if we predict a molecular age that is greater than our chronological age, this means that our body somehow has a very high speed of getting old. And the opposite is also true. If we are seeing a chronological age smaller than a biological age is smaller than our chronological age, it means that our lifestyle, of our choices, they are made, the choice that we are making, they are very good, that they are helping our organism to kind of decelerate the aging process. So this molecular clock relies on some biomarkers, which are epigenetic modifications that generally occur as we age. And they have been selected from a big cohort of skin samples. So we used several samples from different donors to see how those biomarkers, they generally change while we are aging. So based on this, we applied this tool to understand how our product was being effective in the skins that we have grown in the lab. So what we did was we compared the biological age of skins treated and not treated with the peptide. And then we saw that the peptide was able to reverse their chronological age, to not reverse, but to diminish the chronological age. So this gave us a high confidence of how the peptide was acting and how it was changing the overall health of the skins we were treating in the lab.
I know that you have touched on, at least for us as consumers, the way that using the body product on our, in the entirety of our skin may help with systemic inflammation. I would love to hear where you are in your studies on that.
Yeah, I can answer this one. So this is, in approach that we are also, fascinated about, because the more we study like skin aging and we were connecting with longevity, and we were realizing that the accumulation of senescent cells in our skin will promote the increase of inflammation. And the skin is our largest organ. So if you are accumulating senescent cells throughout your body, and those senescent cells are secreting those pro-inflammatory markers, they will eventually impact our overall levels of inflammation. So there is this classic word that we call like inflammaging. That's obviously, the more inflammation you have, the faster you'll be aging. So can we decrease our systemic levels of inflammation by treating our skin? The skin lowering its level of inflammation can affect our body's levels of inflammation. So we came up, with this hypothesis, and we even saw like another study addressing the same issue. And we decided to run a preliminary study with 5 participants at the end of last year. And we saw some very promising results. We saw in 41 days, we saw a decrease in some inflammatory markers in the blood. So how this study, we ran this study, and how we are running now randomized blind clinical studies with like more than 60 participants. We are going to collect blood of those participants, and then they are going to use the body product and the face product for like 3 months. And then we are going to collect blood again, and we are going to measure the impact of this topical treatment in our, systemic levels of inflammation. And showing this correlation, it will open so many doors, and I think will bring awareness in terms of the importance of your skin to your overall health in a way that most people are not aware of, right? So inflammation can be associated with mortality, with obviously, cardiovascular disease and cancer. So if everyone is looking to live, their best and their healthiest lives, they should treat their skin as well, even if they don't care about beauty, if they don't care about the look. But it's definitely another layer that will help us to basically, combat inflammation and aging. So we are very excited to have this data, hopefully by the end of the year. So we are just starting right now enrolling the participants for this study, and we'll share more soon.
Wonderful. I do have a question about molecular weight. So we know, or at least for those of us who are not scientists in a lab, we understand that molecular weight has an impact on penetration. So what I learned, or what I was taught, was that at 500 Daltons, the molecular weight of any given topical, it got to be where it was too big to literally pass through the skin's barrier. So OneSkin, the face product, is over 1,100 Daltons. I would love for you to explain, I know you explained it to me previously, but I would love for you to explain how this peptide and this product penetrates the skin when it actually doesn't pass the 500 Dalton rule.
The ability of any molecule to penetrate the skin doesn't only rely on this property of the size. It also has an impact related to the charge that this molecule has. Also, if it is emulsion system or the liver system, so it all will make this possible or not to reach the deepest layers of our skin. So in our case, our peptide is slightly positively charged, which helps the penetration, and also our emulsion system also helps a lot because it mimics in some ways the matrix layer of the stratocorneum. So it also helps a lot to deliver the peptide.
Just adding, Pen, I think like for us, the best way of knowing things is testing. Yeah. So we do penetration test in our lab where we have like a ex vivo human skin, and there's a system called Cell that basically is a chamber where we place the skin on this chamber, and we treat topically the skin on the upper layer. And then later on, we separate the layers of the skin and we look if there is peptide inside of the layers of the skin. So we confirm the penetration. It's not only knowing about the charge, the size of the peptide and the emulsion that we are doing, we also confirm the penetration doing this type of studies. And with that, we can even study the concentration of peptide that we want to have on our formula, how much is being delivered, and correlate with the efficacy results that we get. So we can then formulate the optimal concentration of peptide to our products.
So speaking of the formulation, can I just ask you why you decided to do it in the form of a lotion versus maybe a serum? Because it's understood that serums penetrate better than lotions or creams. At least that's what people think.
I will start, and then if Carolina or Juliana or Mari want to add later on. But we decided to go more to a lotion that's a little bit more moisturizer, to be a category of product that most of the people will look for. So there are a lot of people that want serum and add steps on their routine, but we wanted to simplify for those that doesn't want to do many steps. So having a lotion that's not like a heavily cream moisturizer, it still managed to have a little bit of both properties of moisturizing your skin, but still being able to deliver the actives that we want to deliver on the skin. So in a way of trying to simplify and get more people using the product, we thought that a lotion more that makes this moisturizing, not very heavily, but can absorb very well and cannot leave a greasy skin would be the better option for us to go, and would be suitable for more different type of skin, and even men and women, they would be more into using this type of product if it's more simple than having a serum. Instead.
I read that OneSkin has 3 different molecular weights of hyaluronic acid. And in my research, especially related to microneedling, lower weight and ultra low weight hyaluronic acid is inflammatory, pro-tumorigenic, that kind of thing. Can you elaborate on that in your formula? And I understand it's a low molecular weight, and then is it a medium and a high? And just explain the HA in your formula.
Oh, yes, sure. So the lower molecular weight of the hyaluronic acid, it's interesting because it can penetrate and interact with the cells and stimulate hyaluronic acid production. While the bigger, hyaluronic, the high molecular weight, they will actually just create a chain that will keep the moisture of your skin. But yeah, you're right. There are some ultra low molecular weight hyaluronic acid that can be pro-inflammatory. And sometimes this is mainly because either the concentration that you're using or even contaminations of the source that you're getting this hyaluronic acid. So the beauty also of having the 3D skin equivalents in our lab and the cells is that we test all these things before formulating our formulas. So we went through and was really, I think it took us 2 months of doing research on different sizes of hyaluronic acid from different vendors to understand which of them was giving the benefit that we wanted of increasing hyaluronic acid production without increasing inflammation. So it's correct. They can be pro-inflammatory, but depending on the concentration that you use and the source that you're getting, the purity of the source that you're getting, you can have you can get the benefits of the hyaluronic acid low molecular weight. And we did this test before choosing the one that we would add in our formula.
I think that is one of the most impressive things about your products and about your company is the testing and the retesting and the lab, and just everything about it is, it's not just applying some concept and saying we know this to be true. We're going to test it and make sure we see it to be true before we tell people it's true. And I find that to be incredible because, a lot of these things we just hold to be true and you test them to make sure they're true. And I think that's really wonderful.
And this is our root of scientists, of being a team of founder scientists that always want to put like the methodology, the scientific methods before doing anything. So we always want to test. We want to repeat 3 times before taking any decision in the company.
You've recently done some interviews with doctors, menopause doctors, and I am entering that phase of my life, and I understand that our estrogen falls off a cliff, and our collagen and our elastin in the 5 years post-menopause. And of course, that can lead to more inflammation. And as we have discussed, inflammation is aging. We have inflammaging. And so can you explain the relationship between OneSkin, menopause, and its effect on inflammation, and how it might be beneficial for people who are like me that might be peri or menopausal or postmenopausal?
Yeah, sure. This is a subject that we are very well attracted and wanting to learn more. We are still like more on the phase of the perimenopause, but we all women, we will get there. We will go over this period. So the more that we learn, the better. And yeah, what we have learned is that during menopause, there is a decrease in the estrogen levels of this hormone that's very important for our health. And also this hormone, it plays some rules on senescence modulation and inflammation. So when you decrease the estrogen on your body, like you increase inflammation, and because you have more inflammation on your system and on your skin, this leads the cells to produce less collagen. This interfere on the healthy function of your skin. So what OneSkin will help, it will not completely eliminate your symptoms of the menopause, like usually hormone therapies will help you on that. But using a product like OneSkin that decreases the inflammation and accumulation of these damaged cells on your skin will help the fibroblasts to be healthier and producing more collagen, will help specifically the skin barrier to be stronger. And we do know that a lot of the dryness that people start experience during menopause, it's also related to this weaker epidermal layer that we start to have, mainly because of the inflammation that is happening on your skin. So OneSkin can help you going through this process by like delivering a stronger and healthier skin that can retain more the moisture, so you can ameliorate this dryness effect, that can reduce this inflammation and make the healthier fibroblast produce more collagen, and then you can like experience less of the symptoms that you usually see on your skin during menopause.
I'd love to ask you about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is hyperpigmentation. What can OneSkin address hyperpigmentation? And then also, obviously melasma is not completely, it's a different animal, but is there any indication that OneSkin can help with melasma?
And maybe I can take this one because I have, well, in my lab, in my research lab, I have dedicated efforts to determine if the peptide can indeed help with hyperpigmentation. So when we first executed the clinical study to determine the efficacy of the peptide and of OS-1 phase, we noticed that the skin of users was, the skin was brighter and the tone was way more even. So we noticed that, and then we decided to go to the lab and see what is the peptide doing in this sense. It is just a general benefit, or it really acts in melanocytes, which are the cells that secrete melanin. And we noticed that the OS-1 peptide, and just making a note there, pigmentation can be induced by so many different stimuli, as you mentioned, hormonal signals, just like in melasma, and sun exposure, or even inflammation and lesions in your skin. Sometimes our skin becomes, it acquires spots after lesions. So there are many types of hyperpigmentation disorders. And there are over 100 genes that control melanin synthesis. So we didn't go through all those possible stimulators of
hyperpigmentation, we looked at three main controllers of melanin synthesis, three genes and actually three proteins. Their names are kind of difficult. But the main one is tyrosinase. It's an enzyme that really participates and regulates melanin synthesis. And we noticed that the peptide decreases the function and the expression of this enzyme in the melanocytes. So if within the melanocytes, regardless of the stimuli, if the melanocyte has lower amounts of active tyrosinase, it won't be able to secrete as much melanin as it would. So our results indicate that the peptide prevents the accumulation, the excessive accumulation of melanin. It possibly means that regardless of the stimuli, the peptide may decrease the melanin synthesis response from our skin. And there are many people reporting benefits to the skin in so many different conditions, including melasma, but we have not run any clinical trials specific dedicated to melasma or specifically focused on any specific hyperpigmentation disorder.
These are questions directly from the Facebook group. Can you address how people should be layering this? And if they don't put it first, is it okay if it's third, etc.?
So basically, the studies that we have run in the lab, we do OneSkin first. Actually, like we don't layer. We know the results by applying in the lab OneSkin as your first product. So that ensure like a better like absorption of the product into your skin. So mainly our main recommendation is to be like OneSkin first, so you can guarantee that our peptide is being absorbed. But depending like, so if you have a heavier moisturizer, definitely this should be after OneSkin. If you have some other serums, we tend to recommend to use them after the OneSkin, so you can have like the absorption of our peptide. But if it's a very light serum, it can be used before the OneSkin OS-1 face product. We don't think it's a huge problem, but from our like research, like the guarantee of like absorption of the peptide and so on, has been tested with OneSkin being the first product. But you can layer, it's a product that you can combine, you can use together with vitamin C, you can use together with tretinoin. So it can be combined without causing any like irritation or like other symptoms if combined with other products. And mainly, I would say if you have a heavy moisturizer, for sure use this afterwards. If you're afraid of using as a first step, you can use your serums first, but just as our guarantee, like OneSkin or the OS-1 would be the first product to use.
So one of the questions is, the very last ingredient is the one which always has the smallest amount, and it is the OS-1 tripeptide. I would think that this would be the first ingredient, but that happens to be water. Why is the OS-1 magical ingredient the last listed?
In the ingredient list, we have the official name of the peptide,
right,
that is tetrapeptide 53. Yes. This is the name that the peptide was registered.
Right.
So because people wouldn't identify it if there was only this name right there, we put an asterisk, and at the end, we call it the name OS-1 Peptide, so they can know that that's the OS-1 peptide. So it's not the last one, but it's not the first one, because as we were talking, like there's no need. We tested the optimal concentration that this peptide would work, and as a small biological molecule, usually it's not the more the best. So the concentration compared to the other ingredients in the formula, it's not the most in volume, but we can guarantee that it's enough concentration to treat your skin and to have results.
How long would you say it takes to see results from OneSkin? What should a consumer expect seen as far as results with OneSkin?
Yeah, so for that, we do clinical studies. So we have significant and quantitative data. And from our clinical studies, we see significant improvements after 6 weeks. and we see improvements in the skin barrier, in hydration, in overall. I think the first sign of like improvement is the smoothness of the skin. The tone will be more even, the texture will be better. So people should feel this in the first weeks. But things like improving fine lines, firmness, this can take a little more time. So because the product needs to penetrate, it basically needs like to change the makeup of the skin from the inside out. Right. So it should take some time. Anything that promises that will erase your wrinkles, unless it's Botox, overnight, you shouldn't trust. So for that, it's up to 3 months. So we ran our study up to 12 weeks. And after 12 weeks, we can clearly confirm that we see improvements in fine lines and wrinkles, firmness, elasticity. And so we can, basically we can guarantee that, in 3 months, people should see improvements. But a lot of our customers, they see in the first weeks because the immediate factors like hydration and smoothness, texture, you can see it earlier.
Yes.
I think adding to this, like peptides, they work like signaling molecules. So they will bind to proteins in your cells, and this will activate like a cascade of like other signaling. So it doesn't need to be a lot to activate that cascade. So usually peptides, they are using lower concentrations, and they are very effective in lower concentrations, even like to nanomolar concentrations. And we have tests like from micromolar to nanomolar, and we have seen, results across the board. So I think it's important to clarify that molecules like peptides, they can be really effective in very low concentrations.
One of the biggest questions that I get is the differentiation between OneSkin and things like DNA repair enzymes. That's probably my biggest question, because DNA repair enzymes do, a lot of repair, obviously, mm-hmm. and or instigate repair or facilitate repair in our cells. And so, can you kind of give us a little bit of their differences as you see it?
Yeah, definitely. I think in our case, the peptides will promote the skin cells to produce or to activate its own DNA repair enzyme. So instead of delivering, the enzymes ready to the cell, we are activating the skin cells to produce their own based on, a signaling cascade that our peptide activates. So it works in a different way. In the end, they complement, they get to the same goal that's like promoting DNA repair, but, through different mechanisms. So there is no problem using them together or using one or another.
We've got a lot of people that have asked about senescence and cancer. And if we mitigate senescence, does that mean that those cells that were not going to turn into cancer, is there now a risk of cancer? Can you explain the relationship between mitigating senescence and cancer?
Yes, so maybe I can go on this one, Penny. So do you remember that I mentioned that when cells get damaged, they can go through 3 routes. They can die, they can recover from the damage, or they can accumulate damage. And usually when cells accumulate damage enough that they're not able to recover from that, but at the same time they didn't die, they activate the senescent cell program. And this program is very necessary to stop those cells from proliferating and preventing those cells to generate a tumor or behave as cancerous cells. So usually cancer cells, they have bypassed this senescent cell program somehow. And we do hear that some people are concerned that, well, if senescence is relevant to prevent cancer, preventing cellular senescence may be not good. So as Carolina mentioned, our peptide, the OS-1 peptide, it first helps cells to recover from damage. For instance, favoring the function of DNA repair enzymes and so many other processes that are involved with this cell to withstand the damage, but being able to recover from that. That's one very important point there. The other thing that is important is that even though the cellular senescence program is very important to prevent cancer because it induces cells to liberate inflammatory molecules, those molecules are usually seen as bad. But if they are produced in the right quantity, they are optimal to activate the immune system to eliminate that damaged senescent cell. The problem is that throughout aging, the senescent cells become very abundant. The inflammation signaling becomes overwhelming, and the immune cells, they get exhausted. So they don't eliminate the senescent cells anymore, and you have only the bad things about cellular senescence. You have a very bad environment in that tissue, which ends up favoring cancer, and it also inactivates all our tools to prevent cancer. So OneSkin and OS-1 Peptide, it reduces from 25 to 50% of cellular senescence burden in a tissue. So it helps it helps that overwhelmed system to go back to what is at least closer to homeostasis, so we can decrease that excessive signaling and try to move things back to a situation in which things will work again. And another thing I wanted to mention is that we have directly tested so many different cancer cell types with the peptide to see if the peptide somehow promoted any benefit to cancer cells, and it did not happen. So the peptide does not directly eliminate cancer cells, but at the same time, it does not favor their survival. Actually, our peptide, again, it works in the tissue environment, moves it back to a better position to fight cancer. And also it prevents healthy cells to become senescent cells. And another thing, it prevents, so as I mentioned, the senescent cells, they release pro-aging factors and pro-inflammatory factors. And actually, Lele in the lab has shown, Alessandra has shown in the lab, that the treatment with OS-1 peptide helps healthy cells to become more resistant to that bad influence around them. So these are all the mechanisms that we have shown that are acting to that OS-1 is promoting to prevent cancer progression. And again, there's no Frankenstein cells coming from the zombie cells after peptide treatment. That doesn't happen.
We are hearing that there may be other products in the pipeline. Is there anything that you would like to share with us today?
Yes, we keep researching, we keep listening to our customers, what are their needs. And since we released OS-1 Face, a lot of people ask how they should clean their skin. And then we have developed that's coming up next month. Before the end of July, we are bringing to the market a gentle cleanser that was very well thought on the ingredients that we selected to gently exfoliate and eliminate dead cells from your skin that will help the absorption and the penetration of OS-1 Face. So this is coming up soon. And before the end of the year, we also, we are finishing the research on an eye product. And a lot of people keep asking us, but OS-1 Face is safe to the eye region, and that's true. You can use OS-1 Face as an eye product, but the skin here in this area is a little bit different from the rest of the skin of your face. It's thinner, it sags easily, more faster. So we are kind of researching specifically. So we have cells from this area, and we are also receiving skin samples from the eye area. And we are doing a combination of a more potent, it will be kind of a more potent version of our OS-1 Face designed to this area that wrinkles more and has more sagging. So this is coming next, and we are still planning on continue researching. We're starting to research also hair growth, but this is something more for next year. But we keep we like to, as we mentioned before, to listen from our customers, the benefits that they are seeing, so we can research and we can improve and we can design specific products to those needs.
As we move into the summer, I understand that OneSkin may be beneficial, if we're exposed to, UV in general, but specifically UVB. Can you elaborate a little bit on the effect of OneSkin body and how it may be beneficial over the summer?
OneSkin OS-1 Peptide, we have shown in the lab that really helps to repair UVB damage. So especially the OS-1 body is a very nice product to use after a day at the beach. So you will give your body like the strength to recover from this UVB damage.
My community is about 50-50, 50% in the US and then 50% everywhere else. Can you share when you may be able to expand your shipping capabilities, et cetera, to the rest of the world?
Well, we would love to go international, especially because we are Brazilians and we haven't reached Brazil yet and many other places in the world. So right now we are focusing on the USA market. But for sure, it is in our plans to go abroad and to do to expand our sales to other countries, including Brazil.
But it's something that you are looking into in the future.
Yes, for sure. Right? It is in our plans.
So I really, really appreciate you all taking the time to be here today. I cannot wait to have another discussion with you in the future. I hope you will come back. And I do hope that you're all having a really wonderful, wonderful start to your summer.
I am so thankful that these ladies took the time to have this conversation with me. I cannot remember another time when I was so riveted and so enthralled by science as this conversation. Like I said before, it was almost 2 hours long, but I could have talked to them for 4 hours. They are not only wizards, absolutely crazy smart women, they are charming and kind and wonderful humans. So I'm really, really thankful to them for taking this time. I'm excited that they are excited about science and that they brought this product to market. I hope that you enjoyed this video. As always, I hope you're having a really wonderful day, and I will talk to you in my next skincare video. Take care.